Hi, I'm Ali Patterson and welcome to the Fintech Show. In an age where everything is transitioning to the digital world, and in an age where remote working has become far more common, there's an increasing demand from both businesses and customers for banks to organize large amounts of data in a secure and a quick manner. That's where cloud-based technology comes into play. From data to customer experience to day-to-day efficiency, we're going to be having a wee look at the opportunities that cloud-based technology presents, as well as the insight from those who have transitioned to the cloud. So for this, we're very excited to be joined by Jason Ang, Product Manager at SmartStream. With over 40 years of experience behind them, SmartStream is renowned for paving the way with their next generation technology. One of my favorite anecdotes about SmartStream is with their AI capabilities, SmartStream Air. It can solve a Sudoku 5 million by 5 million arrays, which is incredible. SmartStream aren't the only value guests with us, however. We also sat down and talked with Jason Ng, the head of commercial and enterprise payment digital at Keybank, an institute that is one of the top 20 banks in the United States. He catches up with us about how cloud technology can improve efficiency and how it's enabled better partnerships between businesses. We also catch up with the group CIO Ashok at Saxo Bank, an online broker and investment platform with banking services. We deep dive into their relationship with cloud technology, their journey, their insight, and how the cloud has helped them with data. What are some of the opportunities for financial service firms to adopt cloud systems? And why have some of the more traditional financial players been a wee bit slow to do so?
Well, that's a two-part question. So we'll kind of talk about the first one first, and that's opportunities. So for us, we've created our cloud or on-demand offerings because we know that there are some key value propositions that are attractive to our clients. So in terms of costs, there's this mutualization of personnel and hardware. So instead of each organization having personnel that is assigned to this particular hardware or software, we actually maintain it. So this mutualizes the costs and allows us to provide a very compelling use case. Internal hardware costs can also be very expensive to maintain given the current structure of data centers at our clients. The second thing is expertise. So here it's about risk reduction. So rather than having like one or two people within their organization knowing our software in each of their organizations, we have a full team who knows how best to run and develop the software. So our clients then can rely on us to take care of those things for them. And the third is scalability. You can increase or decrease your capacity as needed without having to physically add more machines, and basically you pay for what you use.
Is scalability the ultimate KPI for using the cloud in finance?
Yeah, I think so. I think the answer is yes. So I can recall back to about 10, 12 years ago when I first started seeing banks and traditional FI start to dabble around with cloud. I mean, it was still massive. It was still very early days for Amazon's AWS and Microsoft's Azure. And my earliest recollection, going back nearly a decade, were that it was very kind of lightly dabbling into what cloud computing could do. We were starting to experiment with cloud, but really in very innocuous use cases, things that were very low risk. Perhaps marketing, like digital marketing platforms and programmatic media. Actually, at the company that I was at, we were playing around with cloud computing and platform as a service just to see if it would make us faster with our software delivery and the agile delivery of software development methodologies that we were playing around with. We were really trying to get to weekly, if not daily sprints and releases, and we thought cloud could actually help us. And at the time, we all kind of realized that cloud computing is very much about efficiency, right? It's about scale. The reality was that maintaining hardware and software for software and developing new applications and distributed applications and so on, it just requires a lot of manpower, a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of investment. And cloud computing was trying to do all of that at scale. And very, very simply, banks would no longer have to divert our own treasure, our own resources, our own expertise towards maintaining some of this apparatus and that infrastructure and really focusing on the things that mattered the most. For example, the things that were client-facing, the things that we made money on, and so on and so forth.
How can cloud-based technology enable institutions of various different geographies and sizes to connect these disparate systems to prevent rubbish in and prevent rubbish out?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be cloud-based, I'm just telling you that, but cloud enables scale and volume and processing and compute, right? Cloud also, one of the things which cloud also does is there are other insights and services around AI and translation. Like you're going to a mall and suddenly there are a whole bunch of services you don't have to build yourself. It's available in the cloud as software as a service, which you can use to augment and drive information and decision making. We are using Snowflake, we are migrating to Snowflake, and that is a beautiful ecosystem. We are managing what data goes in, good clean data, and what that product which is we are using it in the cloud, is you can enable organization agility, because suddenly in the cloud people don't have to make large copies of data and do their own thing. You can have virtual teams working with their own little view in parallel with good clean data. And of course, data transport between on-prem and cloud and storage and backup also become very critical. And one has to be cognizant of that. Security, one has to be cognizant of that. But we are taking all of that into account. So the foundation for transport, the foundation for security, and then you go to the cloud for auto scaling on capacity, volume, and services, brings it all together.
Are cloud-based systems safer and more secure than on-prem?
I think it would depend on the execution and the risk tolerance of the client, right? If we think about, the perspective here, right? Again, like I mentioned, these cloud providers, right? Like AWS and Azure spend billions, right? Making sure that they are secure, that they are scalable, right? There's teams upon teams of experts in those organizations, and we partner with them, right? So in that sense, we create use cases with them, as a trusted partner. So the idea then is, we want to create a better environment, right, with the best people for our clients. So can you say that it's safer than on-prem? I would say it depends on the execution, but for us, we absolutely want to make it better for our clients.
Let's touch a little bit on security. Are cloud-based systems, are they a safer option than on-prem?
Banks are trusted they're trusted by customers with two of the most sensitive, most guarded things that any of us have as consumers: your data, especially your personal information data, and your money. And early on, the thought of relocating how we host, how we store either your data or your money to a third party, off-prem, a vendor that was not under our direct control, not under our direct governance, it's kind of absurd to a traditional bank, to a conservative bank. It was absurd to our management team. It's probably absurd to regulators and so on. I think over the last 10 years, you've seen really a bit of a quickened evolution, though, as we've come to embrace the reality that, yes, we have very real dollars at risk. And yes, we were certainly very anxious, very apprehensive about relying actually upon a third party to actually do a lot of that hosting, a lot of that management for us. We started to realize that we're willing to give the keys to the server room over because of what we get out of that. And, to your question, I do think that a lot of it is about economies of scale. I think that, again, as I was mentioning before, it was about shifting our attention and our resources and our focus to the things that really mattered more. And spending quite a bit of money, in the companies I've worked at, quite literally tens of millions of dollars on server rooms, trying to keep server racks at the perfect temperature with 8 layers of security, with, floors that were elevated from the actual floor, getting pretty massive amounts of bandwidth wired into those server rooms and so on and so forth. It just got to be a very labor-intensive, time-intensive process. And I think, quite frankly, at least in my experience, it's a constant battle to try and stay on top of all of the latest trends and the developments in security. Trying to make sure that you are, as a company, staying on top of all the latest developments around operations, hardware, encryption, data at rest, data in transit, tokenization, so on and so forth. I mean, that really was taking quite a bit of that of your attention span and our focus to just stay on top of all the latest sets of things. And I think that any security leader at any of the traditional banks that you interact with, or those in your audience, we will all tell you that this is a war of attrition. Fraudsters are getting smarter every day. They're constantly looking for vulnerabilities and penetration testing, right? And at the end of the day, this is not something that is a one and done. It is an ongoing battle to try and maintain your security posture against an enemy that is always getting smarter on you every day of the week. And so, is cloud more secure than on-prem? Again, I'm not an expert. I actually don't know the answer to that. But I can tell you that just by sheer economies of scale and the fact that these cloud providers, this is all they do, all day long, day in and day out. This is what they concentrate on. This is what they focus on. My guess would be that if cloud providers are not better than on-prem in security right now, today, then I'm willing to guarantee they're going to be there soon, right? They're going to get there sooner or later, because it is really hard for individual companies with our own fairly finite resources on our own, in our little siloed environments, to constantly maintain or fight this battle. A cloud provider can do it on scale for tens of thousands of clients or even hundreds of thousands of users of those cloud services. So my guess is they're going to be better, if they're not already, than anything that we could do on-prem.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what SmartStream is working on at the moment?
So we're working on a whole bunch of different things. I think for me, I'm looking at data holistically across organizations. Right? What do people use our data for? And how can we use data to help enhance our processes and our clients' processes? So, for example, the idea of inventory or and collateral management, across the organization, right? There's liquidity questions. There's the best placement of and use of this collateral, right? So the idea of best use of assets across the organization. And then providing data, right, through APIs like to downstream and upstream systems for eligibility to determine pre-trade or post-trade optimization, right? And then surfacing these insights by either having the data be in a data lake, or in a location where then organizations can then use cloud capabilities to scale up AI and have insights into the cross organizational data. I think that's one of the things that we're really looking forward to working on, because we've got a very, very powerful innovations lab that is driving a lot of AI through our solutions.
How can cloud-based solutions help the FIs improve their customer relationships?
The customer literally is not interested in your technology. The customer is interested if they're banking, or if they're trading. Can they trade what they want easily? Is the bank helping them win, or they're just there to collect commissions? So the first thing is we have what we call, we have user journeys and customer touch points. And when you look at customer touch point, you have to follow the customer touch point with our firm all the way through the value chain, right? And to give them the best experience, whether it's upper funnel activity, onboarding, and everything, you have to have an X-ray through the firm and say, how do I make the journey most optimal? And that's with the least amount of human touch and going digital at scale. And going digital doesn't mean just having a fancy app. Whether it's operations or finance, that engine is completely digital. If it's digital, the unit cost goes down, the cost to serve goes down, you give the price back to the customer. And also, there are lots of information, research, translate languages. There's tremendous amount of software as a services things which are available in the cloud, which we can leverage either to reduce our the cost, make the journey more digital, but really get insights quicker and faster. Yeah. So it's a plethora of different things which we call the digital journey, which in the end we would really want the customer to win.
Has utilizing the cloud enabled your organization to collaborate and partner more efficiently?
Yeah, I think that one's an interesting question as well. And I when I originally, had talked with you and your organization about this topic, I hadn't actually considered that it might have enabled partnerships to be better or faster or more productive and so on. In my experience, and I've been doing partnerships at various banks and financial institutions for almost 25 years now, I've seen a lot of evolution. Yeah. In the more recent years, I've seen cloud have an impact on that evolution. But a lot of traditional banks we're still relatively behind the times. I mean, I think a lot of traditional banks in the United States are still coming to embrace, APIs and microservices, right? Things, RESTful services even. Whether or not blockchain actually could potentially enable that in a faster way and so on and so forth. So we're relatively slow to embrace fast-moving technologies, but I do think it's an interesting question around whether or not it's enabled partnerships. From my vantage point, of course, I would always like to be faster. I think that the way that it has enabled things to move a little bit faster is not just necessarily opening up connectivity. It's it's been a cultural shift of mindset. It's really, in the recent 10 years, I've seen traditional banks, stodgy banks that have been around for 50, 100, 150 years, start to embrace partnerships just in general. That banks have to realize that there are some things that we do really well, and there are plenty of things that we really don't. What do we do well? We are good at managing credit, right? We're really good at managing liquidity. We're good at providing options for customers to invest their money. We have reach, we have distribution, right? We have a branded footprint, we've got a geographic footprint, and so on. These are the things that we do well. We are sitting on a treasure trove of data. That's what we know how to do. We know how to get customers. We know how to manage their money. We know how to manage their data in a very secure way. And the reality is that cloud providers, the advent of cloud has actually helped us really understand that we have to kind of give up on the things that are really not what we do best. Banking is in and of itself a scale business. It's a highly mature, highly competitive, highly governed industry. And until we all kind of realize that with scale, you have to focus on the things that you do best, the things that are your core strengths, and find ways to either rent, buy, or partner on the things that really are not your strength, not your core suits, then you're going to be fighting a multi-front war every day of your life. It is challenging, right? To get and keep your customers happy on so many different levels. You've got to find places where you can pick your bets and really focus on what you do the best.
Has the cloud enabled organizations to collaborate and partner more efficiently than if it didn't exist?
I think we bring a lot of collective expertise to the table, right? And it's not just expertise in terms of technology. It's not just expertise in terms of our experience. It's also our expertise in being able to collaborate with, and have good relationships with our clients, right? So we've got, in collateral management, we've got decades-long partnerships with some of our clients. And so there's a deep level of trust that we've established with them already. And given that each organization has its unique needs, we make sure we drive our solutions to help those organizations. But again, because we have a large suite of clients, we then take the best of breed and implement that so that, the idea is that all of our clients start to benefit from this collaboration.
Well, that's all we've got time for on today's episode of the FinTech Show. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about some of the benefits of cloud technology and the insight of those who have fully transitioned to the cloud. As Jason said, you have the confidence that there are people who know the software running the software. Our guests have shown that being able to cut costs, save time, and reduce risks is a truly incredible achievement of the cloud. Thank you to our guests for their insight, and thank for you, the viewer at home. Bye for now.